right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's Route 9 podcast. This is episode number 2. I am Sean, joined by
Tyler,
Chris,
Mason,
and Brad.
Brad from Australia, joining us via Skype as always. This week we've got another 4 topics we're going to talk about. Our first topic on the agenda today, we're going to get into some hardware. We're going to talk some video graphics cards, GPUs for PC. There's 2 big ones right now that are kind of duking it out in the market. That being the Titan X and the GeForce 980 Ti. 2 premier graphics cards, both with really strong capabilities, very, very powerful cards, but with very different price points. And that's kind of what we want to talk about a little bit here. I know Brad has done some research on this topic, and he's probably going to be able to inform us the most. We're going to be able to look at a little bit of stuff, mainly the price points between the 2 on our monitor here. So yeah, Brad, you want to go ahead and get us started on this one and talk a little about like capability-wise of both cards? I know you mentioned some things about what was it? The 980 Ti is capable of 4K video at 60 frames per second.
Roundabouts, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's like the stats that I've seen. Actually, all 3 cards, including the 980 itself, were all tested under 4K on high with high textures and pretty much maxed out. And yeah, they vary a bit. Like they're close to 60, but some of them, you know, they go down to 45 for Far Cry 4.
Right.
As the TI. But really, like, I wouldn't.
is the Titan X really $1,000?
Oh yeah.
$1,000.
Oh yeah.
What is
Yeah.
the 980
Graphics
Ti?
card.
Well, in American dollars, it says I found them between 650 to 700.
Okay,
that's
So you're
still,
looking at-
because the benchmarks I'm looking on this website, I mean, you're literally looking at fractions of differences in a lot of these categories.
For those of you who want to know where we're getting our information from right now that we're seeing on our monitor, we're visiting gpuboss.com. Straight up, gpuboss.com. And then you would just search Titan X versus
980 Ti.
980 Ti, and it will show you the comparison, the benchmarks. And we're really looking at very slim margins in these benchmarks right now as far as just in performance-wise. Like, you're looking at a rating. It looks like all of these ratings are out of 10 that they did, whatever their arbitrary numbers are that they're assigning to these values. They're giving, just on like performance, overall performance from what they're showing, is a 9.7 overall out of 10 for the GeForce GTX Titan X, which is the $1,000 card. And coming very close behind that one is the GeForce GTX 980 Ti with 9.5. So we're talking about a 0.2 margin here. Is 0.2 on a rating out of 10 worth an extra $380?
Well, let me ask you this: are any of these really that necessary? Because
No.
I got a
No.
GeForce. I don't know what the model is.
One.
I remember it was like, yeah. All I know is it was like really reasonably priced. I don't remember, because I built the microform computer, and all of the prices were about $100 ish. Now, maybe like 80, 90, depending on the individual component. But what is the difference in the baseline, about $100 graphics card that I got this time last year with the graphics card here? What is the actual performance capability enhancement that I'm paying the extra $600 to $900 for?
Well, if you're talking about $100 card, you're talking about a pretty significant difference.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean, what was our card around? 3, 4? I can't remember.
This price point was $350, $400 for our card at the time we bought a year ago.
That was what I was
Yeah.
seeing when I was looking. I was looking around at new laptops. Whenever I was thinking about getting a laptop, I mapped out all of the graphics cards they had, and came up to range from like $320 something to $400 for the best computer. And that's just what the graphics card cost inside the laptop.
Right. And that's literally where we're at with like performance gaming. Now, what these cards can do as
I'm
opposed
sorry,
to
I'm
like
sorry.
what Chris is.
I forgot to say one thing right there. I forgot to say that I meant by overall performance,
Right.
or overall value, right?
Okay.
Because I said best computer, but that obviously wasn't like the best laptop you can get, but that was
Right.
overall average, price and everything.
Yes.
Very, very strong graphics card at the
So-
same time.
To answer Chris's question from before, what does the $1,000 card give you over the $100 card that you currently have? One of the main differences is when this card arrives at your door, it jumps out of the box, unwraps itself, and immediately starts sucking your dick. Right? Like, that's what it should do.
Can you put those in technical terms for us real quick?
No, I mean, literally, what it kind of boils down to, and you can visit other tech sites. Obviously, we're not, like, experts on this topic, but it is
Not
something you can
hardware
talk
engineers.
about and debate. It's worth debate. But what it boils down to is just overall performance of the card when you're talking about it rendering graphics. Like, I don't know currently with your setup if you can do this, but it does feel really good to go into any new game that you purchase, go into the settings, if you're not using like the GeForce program that comes with most of their cards that actually like will update your games for you and set your graphics settings automatically based on your performance that you're getting from your card. To go into the settings and go ultra, 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 just
Right.
yes, I would like all the shadow you can give me in your game, and then
Yeah,
to see
max
it
it out.
in front of your eyes running smoothly at 60 plus frames, which is to the
But
human
you
eye
can
is pretty
easily-
fucking smooth.
But you can easily do that with a $400 card.
Absolutely. And,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that brings me to the point of like the reason why these cards exist is so that people out there that think that it matters can go, I have a Titan in my machine.
This just seems to me like, they came out with those 4,000 pixel wide TVs or whatever.
The 4Ks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is there really a difference, right? Can I actually see the difference in the TV? And I looked at one of them when I was going to get my laptop repaired. I actually really just needed them to sell me another stick of RAM because I somehow burnt it out.
Ooh.
But yeah, when I was in there, they showed me this 4K TV that they had bought just because, whatever, I guess they're doing good. But I didn't see a difference. And I was talking to them about it. And I was like, you spent like a couple $1,000s on this. Why? And they're like, yeah, it really doesn't look very different. And I think there might be like a resolution limit to what is easily noticeable.
Well, it comes down to
visually.
what can the human eye discern,
I
right?
have to
Right.
plug Star Citizen for the 10th time. This is what that's made for. Someone who's going to donate $10,000 anyway through Kickstarter.
Right.
There's someone who's done that. That person is buying this graphics card drooling.
Oh,
waiting.
absolutely. No, they're buying
Millionaire
four of
gamers.
these. They're
Yeah.
buying four of
Yeah.
these graphics cards, running
There's
them in
already
Crossfire SLI, whatever it's SLI for.
They can do
Yeah,
4 now.
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
Last time I
yeah,
looked
dude.
at doing desktop graphics card stuff was back in 2000, 2002, something
Oh,
like that.
no.
Yeah. Oh, did we lose Brad?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay, well, we'll work on getting him back. But basically, yeah, it boils down to bragging rights, right? Like, if you don't need 4 Titans in a machine, that's just stupid. Like, okay, so
Sorry
you're
about that, Brad.
You're gonna run 4 monitors, because now the big thing in like the high level PC world of gaming is you have to get not just surround sound but surround video. So you're getting this like wraparound 8-9 monitors set up from your 4 graphics cards and SLI Crossfire, whichever you're running, whichever AMD or NVIDIA chipset, and so you got this massive display of all these monitors composited together, and you got your surround sound set up, and you got this like Mason was talking about, these assholes that are spending $10,000 on Kickstarter anyway for the game. They're gonna have that, but it also seems to me as though this is also like, from a company standpoint, this is NVIDIA saying, look what we can do. You know what I mean? Like, we can make this super uber graphics card and sell it for $1,000, and believe it or not, people are going to buy it. But I think that what they're doing with, because ultimately they're competing with themselves, right? NVIDIA is making both of these cards. NVIDIA is making the
Yeah.
Titan, NVIDIA is making the 980 Ti. They're competing with themselves at this point. But now they're competing with themselves as far as affordability for quality as well, right? Like, obviously, if I look at this, I'm looking at these numbers, I'm going, that 0.2 means dick to me.
Wait, what are the big players in the graphics card world?
NVIDIA and Radeon.
Yeah.
Those are your two big ones. NVIDIA uses Intel chipsets, and Radeon uses AMD chipset.
I don't see that big of a difference
It's
in the
not.
price, honestly.
In the price?
That's how everything is.
$350.
That's how everything is. If people have that kind of money, it's the same thing with art, right? Like
Right.
some guy, just because he has so much money and he's like, this, I'm buying
Yeah,
that for
but
$50 million.
that's not the point, though, because you're
They
talking
can
about
drop that and they're like,
No.
I want the state-of-the-art graphics
no,
card right
no
now.
shit. But
$1,000.
that's the whole point. That's what we were just talking about, is the fact that if you have the money to buy it, you're gonna buy it. But
Yeah.
for me right now, if I'm like, I want the best graphics card I can get, I'm not gonna go spend $1,030. I'm gonna go spend $650 and get one that's 0.2 less on the overall rating scales for performance, because I don't want to spend $1,030. You know what I'm saying? But the person that has a shit ton of money that's spending $10,000 on Kickstarter for Starship, of course he's gonna buy the $1,050 Titan, because why the fuck
probably-
not? But I'm never
He's
gonna
probably
buy
gonna
that
go buy
Titan.
four.
What
But
is-
I would buy
what
that
is a shit
650.
ton of money.
That's
But I
six-
would. Okay.
It's relative. It's
Just-
relative. That's the
I'm
point.
just saying, because
That's
I'm
the point.
I'm
I'll
not
put it
trying
this way,
to
like-
argue it out too much, but I'm just saying maybe
Well,
some guy, he doesn't make,
But that's not
buku money.
that's not the
but he
point of this
loves-
debate, and we
he
have
wants it.
15 minutes for this and Elder Scrolls Online, so we
I
should
was
probably.
getting the point in.
Right,
I'm just
last
saying.
words. Last word
That's
on
the
the
point.
last word.
No,
on the
he
Titan.
has the last word.
Go for the
I
last.
got it. I got it.
What was it?
Oh, okay.
Say it
Those
again.
were
I
the
missed
last
it.
words.
What? I missed it.
We argued about it.
Just
a little
repeat
bit.
it for us real quick.
Repeat
so we
your
can
point.
Move on.
Your
Repeat
point was
my
that
point.
the money doesn't matter, right?
I was saying that you keep saying the person who has a lot of money, but there's probably a lot of people out there that, I don't know, maybe if they make like $100K a year, you know, that's not
Right.
like a ton of money, but that guy who wants to build that computer might just buy this.
Well, there's this
It's his.
that
it's his thing.
that debates a lot of
like
different stipulations. Like, does that guy, is he single and makes 100K? Does he have
Yeah,
kids? Blah 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 blah. Like,
Right.
I was literally just thinking that in my head. Like, if you make 100K and you're buying a Titan, you probably don't have kids or a wife.
yeah, you know, like you're probably just you're probably like a 20,
You're a basement
30-year-old
dwelling-
who just happens to have a good
100K.
job.
Like,
and
yeah, you're going home. The money isn't the problem.
But
you're doing what you're
if
living
you have
life. And
if you have
loving
2
it.
kids and a wife, your wife is never going to let you buy that Titan.
You're not buying the TI at that point. Like,
No.
you know, you're not spending enough time in games where you need to have that. But anyway, we're going to move on now. We're going to talk about a game that dropped this week that's not a new game, but it did release this week. And that game is Elder Scrolls Online. I guess, would you refer to it as, what is its official title? It's not the reissue, right? It's not that simple.
No, to be honest, I can't really even pronounce what it's called properly.
It's Tamriel or something, right?
yeah,
That sounds bad, but I can't even.
That was the,
It's right here in front of me, but I can't even say it.
That was the original.
Tamriel Unlimited.
Tamriel Unlimited, yeah.
Tamriel.
But
I don't know how
basically,
to say it either, but it's definitely
what
I
it
know you're
boils
talking
down
about.
to is Elder Scrolls Online released for PC last year, correct?
Yeah,
And you bought it.
I
And-
bought it
and
day
you
one.
played it. How long did you play it?
1 month.
1 month, and that was just your first month subscription fee, right?
Yeah, I when I bought the game, I subscribed. I bought 1 month and then canceled it just so I would have the month and I wouldn't, you know,
Right.
keep paying for it and just neglect to cancel it.
How much have you played it since then?
I never resubscribed.
Okay. Yeah,
No.
there's many stories like this out there. Apparently, the game had a lot of issues, bugs, problems. The subscription fee was a point of conflict as well for it.
I mean, just the controls of
Yeah.
the game, like it.
Just didn't like it.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I mean, it just was kind of boring. The questing was
What was it lacking?
a little bit of everything. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to say because I'm biased because I played World of Warcraft for 9 years or 8 years. You know, I mean,
Right.
going from a game that was like that, like pretty complete, you know, and they have
Yeah.
just been adding more and more shit to it over 8 years. It's kind of hard for me to remember to look back and see the shitty days of World of
Yeah.
Warcraft
Well,
when
we
shit
got
wasn't
into the
complete
craft.
and all that stuff, but it was just boring. The way you played it didn't feel right.
Right.
Like you could keybind stuff, but it just didn't. It didn't mesh because you still played it like you were playing Skyrim. You still had auto attack and you a spell in a hand or a shield, or. But
Right
then you
hand,
also
left hand.
had 1 through 6, you had all your normal spells that you would have on WoW. It was just,
Right.
it was awkward.
So, Brad, you've been playing the game since yesterday. I was there whenever you unboxed it. Well, obviously not in person, but over Skype. You did your unboxing and installing and everything. What are your first impressions so far with the time that you've had since yesterday?
First thing is, like, I was pretty blown away. I think that it looks really nice. Like, it flows very, very good. Like, it's not, it doesn't seem buggy or laggy or anything like that. The only thing I would say so far is I feel a bit lost sometimes. And that's not from anything else but trying to work out where to go with your quest. There's so much shit going on. Like, there's every person you talk to gives you something else, so there's not like a direction, so to speak. It's just, here you go and do what you like.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Coming from somebody who's, always had a little bit of direction.
Used to linear gameplay.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah,
that
it just
ideal
makes
though
me
for an
feel a bit
MMO?
lost, and that's how it's meant to be. Like, it's meant to be, you can do what you like, when you want, and how you like. But that's the only real thing, and that's something that's just me though. Like, I just feel lost, and when I was on there today, and like, I thought that last night straight away. I thought, all right, this is how I was feeling at the time. So when I started playing this morning, I sat here for a while working out what I've got to do and things like that. But that, so far, like, that's really the only complaint I've got about it. But I think that it's fairly good. I'll give it a couple of weeks though before before I can figure it out.
Before it starts
properly.
pissing you off.
I'll
like,
get back on it.
That's right. That's always how it goes. You got to give it a couple of weeks.
I'll get
before.
back on it too and try and get a comparison
Well, see,
of what
you
it was
get-
then and what it is now.
Well, I was going to point out.
That's what I was going to ask is, I probably should ask you to do this before we did this podcast over the topic. And we can revisit any topic anytime. That's not like a rule. But what I would like to know, I guess, mainly is what changed. Was it performance issues that they fixed? Was it story? Was it questing? Was it the crafting? I know that's big in the game, that people really like the crafting and the kind of profession aspect of it. But I guess that's something that we can discuss at a later date whenever you actually log back on and start playing the game again.
I'll do that this week, and I'll
Okay.
I'll give a little 5-minute
Just a
insight to
report.
what I thought. Yeah,
Right.
I don't want to I don't want to spend any kind of time on it, but I can just give you what I feel like is different from
Okay.
the original.
I mean, I'd
So-
think about getting the game at this point. I was going to point out that, whenever we first got into WoW, you being the first to do it, Tyler, it was still about a year, I think, after the initial release of it. So,
It was way sooner than that when
it
me
was-
and Foster started
what patch was
playing.
it?
Dude,
It was it was 1
I have
point
no
something.
I have no
So it was
idea,
vanilla.
dude. How old were we back then? It's hard for me to remember, honestly. All I know is Foster and our old friend Bryce Green were playing it. I want to say 3 months after launch, and I started playing it 3 weeks after them.
Okay. Yeah,
So
remember-
I started playing around 4, and I could be wrong. It could be it could be like 4 or 5 months, but I know it was before 6 months after launch.
I mean, I would think I started it was
been
like
a while.
the sixth major release of content
And
is when I
then-
started. Like, they had just
I don't know
released a
about
Raw
6
5
months
Basin.
though, because you're only level 20 something hunter. I remember it because I got into the game.
No,
I got into the game with Josh Imhoff. Yeah, we followed you.
you
in the
guys
game.
re-rolled whenever I hit 40. When you guys started, I was probably level 30-ish.
Sorry, we're getting a little bit off, but the point I was just trying to make was that
I made a
for
lot of
MMOs,
characters before I settled on that hunter.
Okay.
It probably
A
takes
lot of
little
level
bit
5s
time.
and 6s and
Yeah,
10s.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
What were you saying,
Easy
Chris?
to get sidetracked trying out the
For
different
the
classes.
MMOs, it probably takes a little bit of time for the game to work out its own internal flaws. I mean, just like, you've got a
Right.
beta, you do all that, but at the same time, you still might have some bugs, some issues that you see only whenever there's, thousands of people playing.
Right.
And it probably takes MMOs a little bit longer than normal games, because they've done all of those extensive tests, but MMOs release content regularly, so maybe they take a little bit of time to fully mature and develop.
I think that's with any game, really. It's got to flesh itself out through patches. and you know, especially in an MMO type of game where you got many people playing it on many different types of machines, they're not all going to function the same. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the next topic.
We hit our 20-minute first topic benchmark of every podcast,
Right.
boys. It always happens. The first topic always hits 20 minutes.
20 minutes,
But-
time for another shot.
That's true.
I hate Fireball, but I'll take one.
We'll take a shot a segment. We'll make that a rule. New segment, another shot.
good
But I'll
rule.
go ahead
I
and
gotta
introduce.
wait.
I'll go ahead and introduce the next section. While these boys get some liquor in.
I hate Fireball so much.
So
I fucking hate it.
the next thing we're going to talk about, there was another new release
Jeez.
this week. This game has a lot of controversy behind it. A lot of controversy. Probably some of the most controversy that I've seen behind the release of a video game, leading up to it, before the game was actually like made public and for sale, and people got their hands on it. The game is called Hatred, and I guess the best way that I can describe it is it's kind of a top-down arcade-style shooter, similar to like what was the Halo game they released a couple of years ago?
Is it like Halo Wars or something?
No, Halo Wars was an RTS. It was a real-time
yeah.
strategy.
Spartan Ops?
Spartan Ops. No, that was a part of Halo 4.
Sorry.
Something or other. There was a Halo game that was it's a top-down shooter, right?
There's a zombies game like it in
Halo
Black
Wars?
Ops 2.
Halo
No,
Wars?
Halo Wars was an
There's
RTS.
arcade
generals.
zombies in Black Ops 2. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
exactly
like that.
like
So you're talking about the one that they had on consoles?
This
and
is
mobile
like
devices, right?
arcade
Shoot the machine gun and then
yeah, this is the
Yeah,
old
sir.
school top down. You're
Yeah,
like
I got
above the god view.
I saw that.
It's
but
the
I never
same
tried
angle.
It.
It's the same angle as an RTS if you think about it that way. You've got that god view of the battlefield.
Yeah.
But it's a solo experience. You're not commanding units like in an RTS. But the game has received an AO rating, which stands for adults only. If you're under the age of 18, you cannot play the game.
I found out that AO is actually the equivalent of 17.
NC-17
NC-17.
in
So
films.
Okay,
Okay.
wait. Then
This is
if
adults
you're
only,
17,
18 plus.
you can buy M games at
that's what I
17,
don't
right?
get. Yeah, we'll get to that part later. But yeah, AO
so
stands
then-
for 18 plus, but
The-
it says it's the equivalent
Okay.
of
Of
NC-17.
NC-17. Not, yeah, okay. So if you're 17, you can't do it. So the E ESRB's official rating, we're looking at the stamp here, for adult only is 18 plus.
So 17-year-olds without their parents can buy
Can-
Gears of War, but not Hatred.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know about the game, the basis of it, from what I've seen in videos, I've not gotten my hands on the game. I actually probably won't play the game because I'm not a big fan of top-down shooters like that. But the overall premise from what I see is that it's just a dude. He looks really badass, to be honest. Like, he really does look.
He looks like a goth dude.
like
It kind of looks like the chick from the grunge,
Yeah.
just with muscles.
He
he's
doesn't
like
look that
if any of you
impressive.
ever watched Metalocalypse,
Yeah. No, that's
he looks
a good,
like Nathan.
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it.
Nathan from Metalocalypse from Grind.
The lead singer, singer in the Death Clock. Yeah.
What was Nathan?
Yeah,
Explosion.
oh,
Nathan Explosion was the character's name.
Yeah.
He looks like Nathan Explosion, but he's like, all decked out in his trench coat, loading it up with weapons and explosives and things. And the
Yeah.
whole point of the game is this dude is just out on a murderous rampage, just murdering anyone, the innocent, the guilty. It doesn't matter to this dude. He's had enough with the world. And he even claims in his opening monologue that he's ready to die himself. Like,
Yeah,
this is it
he
for him.
wants to die violently, is what he
This
said.
is how
Sean
he
showed
has
me
chosen to end his life.
a video of this game, like just a few minutes before the podcast. And, because I was kind of curious about this. I was like, oh, what's the big deal? Why is it adult only? And I think I've might have stumbled on the conclusion is that, we are weirdly okay, America as a country, with just really graphic violence in our video games, right? In fact, we, are more okay with that than
In all media
cursing.
types.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a second. I want to make a really good point on that than cursing and sexuality. But I think the problem that they saw with this game is that, okay, so you say, okay, you have things that have much more graphic executions, like Mortal Kombat. Yeah, it's true. And you have things with just rampaging violence capabilities, like Grand Theft Auto. But there are other points, right? In Mortal Kombat as like a magical mystery, like fantasy, like, you're not just like shooting people with actual guns in a realistic scenario. You're this weird character who can like throw ice bolts or fireballs or like has chains and stuff. Like it's a clearly fantasy type battle, right? And in Grand Theft Auto, obviously you have a ton of stuff you can do. You don't have to kill people and just randomly violate stuff. I mean,
But
like
most people
Isn't that
do.
what most people do
That's the
entire
thing,
time?
though.
Well,
most people choose to, but the point is that literally the only thing you can do in this game to play the game, and I think that's where it got this AO rating, is to kill people.
Yeah, literally the missions that you have to do are kill people.
Right.
Like
It's just
you
mass
can't
murder.
advance in the game if you don't
Yeah, that's the
just
only-
destroy
the
people.
game
The entire
objectives
point.
actually in the video that we watched said cleanse the police station.
Yeah, or
Those-
or destroy the funeral procession.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was eliminate
Yeah.
the funeral procession, and then like the party. You had to break up murder
You
everyone.
kill
at this
everyone
party.
at a party, at like a house party. Yeah,
And I think that's where, whenever like these individuals that rate things, there's a line that you cross. Right? They have their line. They have their rules. It's not arbitrary for the most part. Well, there's some speculation about that, but you
Yeah.
know, it comes into like, where does a game have to? What's the line the game has to cross to get the AO rating? And we have a list here in front of us.
Well, and that's what I was bringing up what was it last night? That was what I was bringing up last night. Is there have been so few AO rated games that I mean, the stipulations aren't very well defined at this
Right.
point. Like, if you look down this list, you're only going to see 2 games that aren't banned for basically being a porn game.
Strong sexual content. That's what the ESRB content description
But
for the rating
But
is.
when you're looking at I mean, that says strong sexual content, so you think, it's just inferring stuff. But no, I mean, like you and Sean or Brad and you heard this last
I
night.
feel
Like
like it's
all
pretty
nude,
simple.
all nude cyber, all nude glamour. This entire list is
All
all
nude
nude
Nikki.
Nikki, body language, critical point, crystal fantasy,
cyber
Eden,
photographer,
fairy tale of 2.
and then Grand Theft Auto.
Grand
San
Theft Auto
Andreas.
San Andreas, which was rated temporarily only due to someone who made a mod for it. And then once the mod was patched out, it was brought back down to M.
What kind of content was
Hatred.
the mod?
The mod was sexual.
Right.
It was, you could mod a arcade game in a
Hot
bar.
coffee.
Yeah, hot coffee.
I
You already know.
remember
Yeah. So,
You have
There we
fond
go.
memories of
Been
that,
there,
don't
done
you?
that.
yeah, see, so.
Mason goes hot coffee.
But then after that,
Why did they name it hot coffee? I don't care.
everything else
Good step
is
forward.
sex, sex, sex. The joy. You have hatred, which is the only other game, and then you have the joy of sex, Lula 3D, Manhunt 2. Like,
So the point here is that basically, of all of the games listed on this site that have AO ratings, which is probably nearly all, because the list starts in like 1992, right?
yeah, 1997.
Well, that's for that game, but I thought I saw 92 on there somewhere because it's listed alphabetically. But anyways, going all the way back 20 years ago, basically, with these games that have received AO ratings, 2 out of those base content is not related to sexual content. Even one of those, the reason why it received that temporary AO rating was because of a mod in the game that included sexual content.
Well, I would say it's safe to say then that the only reason that it is on that list is because of the sexual content. If it wasn't for that
Exactly.
mod, it wouldn't be on
GTA
there. So
wouldn't be
technically, Hatred is the only
The
game
only
on this
non-sexual
list.
I
game.
think it's simple.
Yeah.
The game is called Hatred, and it's made out of shoot up
Well, yeah, that's
public
Yeah, I don't
places
think it's
accounts,
because
and
of
it
the
forces
name,
you into
though.
doing it.
I think
What's
it's
something
because-
people are afraid of?
Yeah, but see, I don't think that at all. I don't think it's got nothing to do with the name. I think it's just plainly because you're shooting up people in the middle of a regular neighborhood.
right.
You're going
Just for no
yeah,
reason.
Yeah,
No
that's
particular
what
reason.
I was just
you're
saying.
not in a
Also,
fantasy
the game is
forest somewhere
called
taking out
Hatred.
people, you know, you're in the middle of a street that has regular people that's like depicted as a family neighborhood. Then you've got this Rob Zombie looking guy coming through and just mass murder.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah,
and
that-
that's the
that's-
problem with it. That's why that's where
I
they
think
draw the line.
sole thing is. I think that's the reason why I got that rating. And
Yeah.
if
Let me ask a question.
they had this thing on some spaceship in the middle of the space, it would be nothing.
Let me ask this question too. If Columbine never happened, if Sandy Hook never happened, if many of the recent public shootings never happened, would this game receive an AO rating?
Well, I don't. Yeah, no, because I brought up State of the Emergency last night, which is the same game, which you can say it's not as realistic, but that's only because the current consoles and the limitations of what people were capable of back then, and when it came to programming wasn't the same, but the concept was the exact same.
Right.
Kill everybody and blow up everything to advance.
We're actually watching some footage from Hatred right now on our monitor. Mason, this is the first time you've seen the game, right?
Yeah, first time.
So right now,
honestly does look like State of Emergency, but it goes back to the thing. Like
Well, State of Emergency was more of third person,
and
but
it was way more cartoony.
but it's not
right. It's like
yeah, but
they
still,
can't-
it is the
this
same
gets
thing.
scary to them. They watch this and they're like, "Holy shit!"
This is
they're gonna-
encouraging
Well,
people
and-
to pick
and
up.
I'll
Next
say
thing you
it.
know, they've
No,
got like
it-
the journal. They're
no,
like, you have
that-
to write your death note
This
before you go
is-
out and you complete
this
your
is
mission
exactly
and then
like
commit suicide at the end.
the way that this guy looks
Some
with
shit
the,
like
the
that.
goth look, the long black hair, pale white skin, black overcoat, trench coat. This is a depiction of the shooters from Columbine. Pretty much. This is what these guys thought they were. Just this. We call him badass because he's big and muscular and wears black and is dark. But
I don't call him that.
in reality,
He just looks
it's
gothic.
just but I mean he's trying to be one. That's his depiction of himself, right? Like that's the way he sees himself. It's his like, I have to cleanse the world and then cleanse myself as well because I'm part of the problem. That's what this guy talks about in his opening dialogue. But beyond all of this, it's the first game in recent history to receive this rating as for its content for violent
Since
content.
2005.
And I really do agree with all points that were made here tonight about why it received the rating. And I think that that's what the ESRB was considering whenever they did rate it what they did.
Well,
And actually, the
I think it
ESR.
goes
No,
back
the thing
also to
is
what you said earlier, Sean. You said they drew they have a line, and if they crossed it,
This
it's
was
basically like
finally
they're
the
making an
violence line.
example, right? Like they probably sat here, thought about it a lot.
Well,
and,
that's the
like,
thing,
all
though,
this
is-
shit and talked about all of this and was like, okay, we have to set a line though. Like this is very
Yeah.
very
Okay.
That's the thing, though. This is the game that actually
Sets the
this
line.
line.
Yeah.
Let me
This
ask
is the violence line.
Let me bring
you
up the
know?
final point on this topic real quick that I'd like to talk about is anybody in this forum right here that we're part of have a problem with the rating for the game?
No,
No.
I think it's justifiable. I just think it's kind of weird that this
We
is
can
the
start
actual line.
Which, by the way, those
For the
executions
violence.
are the
we
only
can
way.
play this and it's
It would
still
be
fucked
hard-
up. You know,
The
it's
only-
just-
the only
if
way-
you blow away
But
18,
you
can't.
you said it earlier.
So
Is
don't
like
lie
that.
that.
This is inspiring, or this is in somehow.
Yeah,
It does
almost-
not. It does not in any way inspire somebody to go out and do this. I'm sorry, but in no way. I can go play this game right now and play it for the next 5 years. I am never going to go out in the street and murder somebody. You're
Right.
talking about somebody that even without this game, without ever seeing a violent movie, would probably go out and do it anyway because they already have
Yeah.
something fucked up in their brain that is doing that. That's a totally different matter.
Yeah, no,
They-
I'm
they
talking
have-
about.
I don't want to get into that
This-
right now.
yeah.
That's such
let's
a
not-
deep-
let's
I
not
don't
talk
want to
about-
get into that
I
because
was going to say
agree, but I
that
don't fully
the
agree.
ESRB
Heard some fucked
actually
up stories.
did this game a massive favor.
I agree.
I mean,
Yeah, it was huge publicity.
yeah, like,
well,
okay.
and no, the ESRB did this after like 3 months of the
Previews
hype
and
being out. That's the thing is people were reacting to this saying it was like this is the most fucked up game ever and it's so violent and it's so crazy. And
Before
finally,
anyone ever saw it.
after a billion YouTube videos of everyone saying this is so messed up and blah 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 blah, they finally slapped the AO rating
Right.
on it. Is
No,
the thing.
I
So
wasn't saying that this is going to encourage like school shooters and stuff. I'm just saying that from the ESRB, from like a normal
It's free
person
publicity.
standpoint, not from our standpoint, but from a normal person's standpoint, this seems like something that they're the most
Excessive.
worried about. You know, that they're worried about. Parents are worried about violence in video games. this is the epitome of why.
Violence in video games.
Right.
Yeah,
I would not
He's
let it-
shooting up a police station.
I would not
right
let
now,
my
so-
child even watch a video of
And
this game.
executing them.
Not
one by
because I'm
one.
worried that they
Somebody
would
just, like,
become a homicidal maniac, but this is not the kinds of thing that they need to
Right.
see.
Well,
I
and
mean,
you
it
brought
has
it
no
up last
point.
night, though. I mean, just because your mom doesn't let you play this video game, that doesn't stop you from signing on to
Right.
YouTube and watching 15 hours
Right.
of game or of hatred
Watching
gameplay.
what-
Whenever
watching
they
right
put
now.
the mature rating on music, the copies of albums that receive that rating that sold actually multiplied by some ridiculous factor.
No, I'm sure this will be a
It'll be a
huge
similar
game.
thing.
This
It'll
will
be
be
a
a
similar thing.
huge success, I'm sure. I mean, just because people want to play the
On the final
Just
thought
because
on
it has
this,
that rating.
yeah, just because of the
Because it
rating.
has the rating.
The rating itself will attract people, not even the gameplay, which isn't even that great. It doesn't look like that
well,
fun
no,
of a game.
and you know what?
so
I mean,
repetitive.
when you think about it, like it's
It
not
looks like
that
a $10 Steam game to me.
exactly.
Yeah,
It,
I'd
it's
pay maybe
nothing
$5,
fantastic.
$10.
It literally,
Probably abandon
to
it
me, when
today.
I watch it, it looks like an arcade game. Like
is.
it just it doesn't even look enjoyable. That's why I was arguing the AO rating so much. Like I get that the motive is to murder everybody, but it just, to me, I feel like if I was playing it, it would feel like I'm just playing an arcade shooter game that's just like, I'm just kind of playing this game. I'm really not that interested in it. There's just nothing else to do right now. Like it,
Right.
honestly, I don't even think I would play it for that long. Like I feel like I
Yeah,
would get
a
bored
couple
so.
hours,
I feel like I would get
maybe,
bored
I'd
so
say.
quick playing this game that it's just like. I mean,
No.
yeah, that's my point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would say that
It just
the-
seems boring.
The real
it does.
takeaway for me on this is how weird and fucked up our system is, right? We went through that list of games that are rated adult only, that are the most disturbing things to us. And the weird thing is we kind of have our order. Okay, so there are three things that people generally consider offensive or that can be offensive to children, right? That being sexuality, language, and violence. And we seem to rate them like sexuality. Clearly, you see that list. That is what we maybe as Americans believe is the most offensive, followed by language, followed by graphic violence. It took this, a game completely and utterly about murdering relatively or unknown innocent people.
It really feels like they're waving it in your face, right? Like
Right.
like these developers got together and they were making their game and they went, let's go full balls with this bullshit, right?
Yeah,
Let's
they-
just see
they
how
wanted to see.
far we can push that envelope as far as graphic content. And honestly, like we were talking about before, you can chainsaw somebody in fucking half with
In
your gun in
Gears,
Gears
yeah.
of War. You can pull someone's spine out of their
Mortal
torso
Kombat.
in Mortal Kombat, but you're not doing it in the context of a
Real person.
mass murder.
realistic
Yeah.
setting that could actually happen in real life. I'm never gonna
Just
have the
not
strength
realizing
in my
that.
body to grab Chris by the throat and yank his spine out of his
That
torso.
was my favorite part about playing Mortal Kombat and Gears of War, two games which I love the most out of all games ever made. And I'm never going to ever be like, I just want to pull this guy's spine out.
I'm just saying, do we
Or
not?
I'm just gonna fix a chainsaw to my gun and just go on a massacre. And
All right,
just
boys.
Right. Do we
catch
not?
someone.
Last point on this. Do we not, as a country, have this inextricably reversed? I mean, if you think about it, isn't sexuality, sexual content, whatever, isn't that the most natural and innocuous thing?
That's a different topic.
and isn't graphic violence the actual kind of
I agree.
most
Well, because in
disagreeable
movies,
thing?
it's almost complete opposite, right? Like you can have as much violence as you want in the game, and it's going to be rated R.
in the movie, yes.
But
Yeah.
the second you add too much sexual content, NC-17.
Well, we
bam,
talked about it
right
last
there.
night. I
You know
brought
what I'm
up the
saying?
point
In
that-
games, it's apparently the opposite.
I watched
you
the-
can have a ton of blood and gore in your games,
Right.
in fantasy, real life, whatever the.
I
well,
watched a
apparently not in
video-
real life now. You can't have a real life scenario, but
I watched a video, a documentary about film ratings and the film rating business, and what earns you certain, the levels of film rating in the United States is like the G, PG, PG-13, R, and NC-17, and an X. And what was funny about that, the thing that I took away from that really kind of cracked me up was, I think it was Kevin Smith was talking about it, and he said, in a movie, if you can have fully naked, dude's ass, woman's boobs, real private parts being shown on film and receive an R rating for that. But as soon as he steps behind the woman, or the example that I gave was like you could have a Will Ferrell comedy, right? And he's fully clothed and the female character is fully clothed and he stands behind her and it's like insinuating that they are having sex
Doggy
from
style.
behind. It's an immediate NC-17 rating. Literally due to the position that they're in. Missionary all day long with fully clothed PG-13. As soon as fully clothed Will Ferrell steps behind fully clothed female lead,
Dude, Doggy's just too raunchy,
NC-17.
man. You know, Doggy
NC-17.
is just raunchy, man.
It's all weird. It's all
It's
that's
it
what I'm
just
saying.
seems like an arbitrary and kind of inverse line
And
to
that
what
guy
I
is
would
Is
think
our
it is,
roots, boys.
Yeah,
that's
that's-
where we come from.
Yeah, and it's the
Mm.
Puritan
That's where was this
ancestry.
country
I'm not sure, but
where would the human race be
a
without
little
doggy
bit
style,
around
right?
70 years ago?
Alright.
We were the country that was like, marry early, stay together for life,
Yeah.
work, work, work. Your sex is private time.
Yep.
You know.
yeah, well, the
Yeah.
NSA has definitely
Okay.
picked up on this now.
But moving on to moving on to our third topic for today.
And we have become the most
Can't criticize
sexualized.
America.
Yeah. Another relatively
Generation.
new game that came out is called Ark, and it fits into that PC survival strategy cross
Alpha.
multiplayer alpha early release bullshit that's
God.
become a trend right now that includes games such as DayZ, The Forest, Rust, Reign of Kings. What am I leaving out in that list?
There's
Those are the
one.
big players.
There's one I think that's called like Subnautica, where
Okay.
you're underwater. There's another one. God, I cannot remember what it's called, but you're basically in a ocean, and you can.
Oh yeah, new topic.
And you can build a raft. You can travel from island to island to gather different resources. Other islands have special things, and there's sharks, all kinds of shit that can kill you. It is a single player game, but
I would just like a real
I mean-
survival game.
I mean,
to come
really-
out of alpha.
there's basically a new survival game. It seems like at least every month.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if it's zombies. I don't care if I'm in the fucking water going from island to
Have
island.
you seen
I don't
footage
care if
of
I'm in the
Have you seen the footage of
woods.
Ark?
Y'all want to play
I
those
just
games
want to
more than
be
anybody
in a
else.
survival game.
I have not played
that
one of those
actually
games in a
is
long
fully
time.
developed. You know what I mean?
But you were literally before this podcast started talking about one of those games.
Yeah, y'all
and
love
playing it.
You love Reign of Kings.
They're
and
great
he
games.
loves Rust.
What makes them great?
I have not played any of those games in a long time. I would like to, but I can never get enough people on the one that I want to play. I don't want to play Rust anymore. I will play
Is-
Reign of Kings.
But you still love the games.
Which brings me-
because that's what it.
I
means,
love
because
I'll
that
tell you,
one
as soon
game.
as
That would be like me.
I
when
own.
It's like,
no,
I
no,
wanna
just
play World
listen.
of Warcraft
One at a
right
time.
One
now,
second,
but
man.
nobody's
One
in.
One second, man. I own all of them. I own DayZ. I own Rust. I own Reign of Kings. I own Subnautica. Okay? I own The Forest. I own 5 survival games. The only one I have any interest in playing is Reign of Kings. Zach and Chris talked to me about a Rust private server last night. I will never play on that Rust private server with them. They're not fun.
Well, I don't want to play that
Rust
because
is
Zach's
not a
there.
fun game. DayZ, I feel like, is the worst out of all of them. I feel like DayZ is a complete piece of shit. It's been out the longest, and it's just boring. Every time I play it, I run around for 3 hours. I don't get any weapons. I die like to 85 zombies over the course. I don't get anywhere. It's just pointless. Reign of Kings is the only one that I find enjoyable at this point. Now, Ark does seem kind of enjoyable, but the problem is it is just another survival alpha game that come a month, 2 months down the road, the next one is gonna come out and everyone's gonna migrate to that one.
Right. I think the point we're trying to get here is that one of those survival games, just one of them, and it really, and the distinctions of the games are less than the similarities, right? I mean, the idea is that the main focus of a game for once is survival. Like, yeah, in other games you might have had like a food bar and a water bar, and I might have given you buffs. But like the actual main focus of these games is survival. That's what distinguishes them, right? And what needs to happen is one of these games that seems to be in this perpetual 4 or 5 year state of being an alpha and having very slow developments added to it needs to come out of alpha and actually eliminate the hacker problem, because that's consistent through every single one of these motherfuckers, and be a playable game without bugginess or glitches. And I think the first one of them to do that will have a huge following, because there's a lot of people. It's a kind of a unique concept. There's been a survival element for a long time, but not necessarily a game that's, to my knowledge, where the primary goal is that survival. And I'm looking forward to that.
What is it going to take? Because I've never played these games hands-on. I've only watched content produced around these games. And to me, to the point Chris was making before, where the similarities are too many between the games. What I want to know is, what is it going to take for one of these games to take over and stand out? Where it's literally not just... It seems like seems like this is an iteration for PC of what I would equivalent to pop music. It's all about what's new and what's trendy.
No, yeah, that's the thing. That's what the alpha thing. That's basically what we were talking about last week with the alphas. I mean, that's just all it is they have no real reason to come out with a real game because
they're getting paid.
Not even that, because they come out with the new trending survival game and then they cash off of it. They don't have to complete a real game. They don't have that much money invested into it. They make a shit ton of money off of it because it's the new alpha, like Ark. Ooh, it's, Rust with dinosaurs, So everyone plays Rust with dinosaurs for a few months and they just bank off that. And then they don't really ever have to improve it because eventually everybody moves on to the next alpha survival game a few months down the road. Right. And then you can just shut down the servers at some point because the game's dead.
But the reason the majority of the reason is why everyone moves on too is because the game isn't fixed. And what people don't think too is you're paying your $20 per game and you're getting early access to a game that's not completed. So you're buying the game and it's not completed. So if you have something like Steam that turns around and goes, we're not going to charge, if a developer wants to put out a game as early access, it's free. And as soon as you start to charge, then the game has to be complete. It's the only way this is all going to stop.
I agree.
Believe anyway.
These games, in my opinion, they call themselves early access games. Every single one of them does. They say, get early access for the low price of $19.99 US. That is not.
They'll always be early access games is the problem.
But they're not early access is my point.
No, because they are a
being
game.
Sold.
They are a game.
You don't pay for early access to a game. That's alpha beta, right? And that is they originally wrapped themselves around the idea, well, at least in my experience with betas for games on consoles especially, the bullshit now is there's no such thing as a free beta anymore because they wrap it in the shroud of pre-order bonus.
Yeah, you buy ODST, you get Halo Reach beta.
Right. If you purchase the Master Chief Collection, you're included in the beta for Halo 5 Guardians.
Yeah.
That kind of bullshit.
One thing I like is, what was that? In our first podcast, we were talking about how everything, every game has something bought now. Halo 5 Guardians has already announced that there's 15 free DLC maps.
Completely free.
Completely free.
All the
within
DLC.
The first. Yeah, so.
Right.
I mean, that kind of just goes against, the whole alpha market.
Good. I'm glad so. Yeah,
because the biggest game of the year, which of course they'll bank off of just selling Halo, but I mean, it just goes with what if? What I would like to see is
Destiny, and then all of a sudden they come out,
What I would like to see is EA or one of these huge companies because clearly the survival game market is huge, right?
Yeah,
everybody is buying every one of these fucking survival games. What I would like to see is one of these big companies finally notice that and develop a true survival game and release it and it be complete like most of the other games. Of course, these days you have tons of games releasing before they should and blah, 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 blah. But if EA develops a game, it's going to be way better than the
These
Rust
6 dudes that
developer,
develop
the
Rust.
6 dudes in their basement that have been programming Rust for the last
Well,
5
and I
years.
think that that's the
Yeah.
inherent problem. I think that that's the reason why these games can never, will never be complete, is because of the support staff for the game itself. They're being, like you said, they're being developed by 2 dudes in a basement. You know,
Exactly.
they don't have the resources. They're ecstatic that 100,000 people paid $20 for their game and they made $2 million off of it.
Yeah.
And Steam took some, but regardless of that, like the amount of work that they're putting in is a lot for them. But if you take that 2-man team and you expand it to a 20-man team, all of a sudden that workload is spread across way more many people, and that game that they were developing for 5 years on their own all comes down to like a 6-month dev cycle for an actual team of developers.
Yeah.
But to that point, those large gaming companies that you want to see take on this game that notice the money probably will never get into that market because it's not
Yeah.
worth their time.
Right.
But see,
Because
Whenever
it's
they
so
can create a
trendy.
AAA title, sell it for $60 that price point, and make $50 million.
But see, that's the
off
thing, though. That's the thing, though. You make a. I mean, there's games out there that borderline the survival series. I mean, to
I mean,
where you
the
already
way-
have like if you play Far Cry, right? Like you're on an island, you're by yourself. It's a free roam world. You can do what you want. You can do missions and blah, you know. But if you add the actual survival element to where if you could have an online multiplayer to say Far Cry 4 where you're on the Far Cry 4 map and everyone can build their own base, you can gather resources to that extent, I guarantee you will have a sustainable client base. Like everyone from most of these games, like people will leave Rust, people will leave Reign of Kings because it is a legitimate game.
But that's the inherent problem. That's already existing, right? People are leaving. They're bouncing from game to game to game and
Right.
leaving the old one.
But that's
I
because
think-
they never improve. By the time the next cool game comes out, Reign of Kings is still a glitchy, buggy
But that-
game. Rust
what I
is still a
thought we said
glitchy, buggy
before about-
game.
I think a
about
big
paying for the game, though. You know, you've already paid for the game, so of course they're not going to get fixed. If you take away the paying for it as an early access thing and just saying you can come to our website and sign up for it, and we're going to run it for 2 months and work out our problems, then a lot of people will come and play it and think this is cool. They get their feedback and then go away for 2 months or however long it takes, then release the game for $20 complete. That's a different story.
yes.
You know, but the fact is that you've already bought the game,
right.
so it doesn't matter to them anymore. There's
You
no
take away the
liability to them.
incentive.
They can just keep claiming that it's early access, it's in beta. It can be early access indefinitely.
right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And they will be.
Is-
That's my opinion and my forecast for this
That's right.
this genre is that this genre will be known as incomplete games, not just free to play or not free to play. I'm sorry, early release alpha games. It's going to be called incomplete games. The games that will never be finished.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I honestly
I bet
think
most of
if
them
you're
won't.
paying to play early access, they're never going to be finished.
Nope.
And that's the only way that this whole problem is going to be fixed is by by people and players using their wallet. If you're going to fork out the money, you're only fueling the fire.
Yep.
If
Yeah.
you say no, we're not going to, we'll wait, then the problem pretty much vanishes because they're not getting the money coming in, so they want the money, so they're going to fix it.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
I mean, I see a secondary problem though.
Well,
MMO survival games, right? The big problem is balance. You know, you get big, you get a lot of friends, like in Rust or Reign of Kings, and eventually you get to the point where on that particular server, unless there's a massive influx of people that really hate you, you know, you're kind of indomitable. I've noticed that problem playing Rust several times, where there's a major faction on the server that effectively controls the server, and so. You know, it would actually really take a big developer to figure out a way to balance out the game such that
But they
it's
could,
an
is
enjoyable
the thing, is-
experience to all players. If they wanted to, yeah, they
that's
could.
the thing is, they could cash in on that market if they really wanted to. I mean,
Right. It's there. People have shown they want them
Hatred
to.
is made by a pretty big company.
But you know
And
what?
honestly, it's a shitty game.
I think
so.
Yeah.
I think that with that the games like Rust and Reign of Kings and things like that, I think that what those bigger companies have that a lot of other smaller startups don't have is they have analytics, right? They have research teams, they're researching their markets, and they look at that structure and they go, we don't want to be a part of that because there's
Too
no
volatile.
It's absolutely too volatile. There's no loyalty there's no incentive for those big companies to get into it because they don't want to put that much effort and money into a game that possibly could only undersell, 500,000 copies when they could have been devoting those resources to the 5 and 10 million copy market of AAA
Right.
titles.
I'm playing Rust.
Those games that you guys are playing right now are not even in the same league as a Destiny, as a Halo, as a Call of Duty, as far as sales and popularity go. You guys play them a lot.
There's absolutely no loyalty, right? Because here's the thing. I'm playing Rust right now, right? Or kind of have played Rust a lot in the past. And, if you're playing with just you and your couple buds, you're going to get wrecked on a lot of those games. In fact, as far as I can tell, all of the games. And somebody comes out with a new tweet to it. Here's Rust with the water. Here's Rust with the dinosaurs. All of those things. Like, you would easily migrate to that because, like, okay, well, I can't be the biggest, baddest, dog in the yard on Rust or Rust with water, but maybe I can be the biggest, baddest on Rust with dinosaurs with my buds. And so, it's I can see how it's really easy.
Trying to get in early to get established. I see what you're
Right,
there.
really easy to migrate, and it doesn't inspire any inherent loyalty without some balance in the game. Now, if the entire server turned against the people that have the giant, fortress, that would be one thing, but it's just chaos, and hackers and all sorts of shit. Maybe that could be resolved by a big company, but it's
a good blanketing term for the
I
genre.
don't
The way that I see
like
it is
any
chaos.
of the games.
All right, so
Final word.
Final word.
That is the
Mason
final
does
word.
not-
I
not-
don't like
he doesn't
any
like
of
any
this
of
doesn't
those
like
games.
them.
I
Okay.
was hopeful for the prospect of it.
It just didn't pan out.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because
never been a
it's
worry
because
with
he
me.
logged in to Reign of Kings for about 30 seconds and I decapitated him
I
within
loved
about
that.
45.
That was
Actually,
my favorite.
I was
You
there.
dragged me
I
for like
was
a
there.
mile.
It was a good day. I
You
dragged him
hogtied
across
him
the
and you
land.
I want to get one last word in on this. Before,
I already said the last
We
word,
didn't
Sean.
decapitate
I'm
him.
sorry.
Get
Okay,
That's a
over
good
it.
point.
Get over it.
okay, no veto.
We literally have
Let's go.
4
I know,
minutes
I
for
know.
the last topic, so
We can talk about that. All right, but this one I don't think is going to go too long because it's pretty
vague.
Well, I think it's pretty black and white. Like, it's pro gaming, right? It is what it is. Like,
Future of pro gaming.
the future, where the state of it right now, I feel like it's probably as healthy as it's ever been, just because of League
League.
of Legends.
But that's the thing, though, is you can't really bank the success of pro gaming just because League of Legends is doing good. Because eventually, I mean, you can say that League could just be the game forever, but it's not. I mean, it will. I mean, it is a sport, is the thing. It's the first game that really makes it feel like a true sport.
As far
Other
as
than
like,
just like watching a bunch of guys play Halo at.
well, I think what League has done
It's
really
been
well
steps.
is its broadcast coverage is excellent, superb. Like their broadcast crews for NA, for EU, for what's it, OGN,
Yeah, OGN, LPL.
LPL. Those all the
all of them.
broadcasts are absolutely stellar. They really do a good job with picking their talent for on air.
And you're talking about you're talking about like just in production value and
Absolutely.
their shoutcasters.
All their casters, period. Yeah, I mean, they call them shoutcasters, but in reality, they are the play-by-play, the color, what you would in sports terms. Whenever you watch a sports broadcast, they cover all their bases. They've done their research. Riot has done an excellent job of putting their broadcast teams together, in my opinion. It's very entertaining, enjoyable, and informative. You learn a lot by watching those games, if you're into that game. But where I would like to compare that to, in the past, my only real exposure to professional gaming was the Halo 2, Halo 3 era MLG scene, right?
FPS.
Absolutely.
FPS MLG.
I mean,
Yeah.
Halo MLG was the king in the 2000s,
I think
right?
StarCraft was the start.
Yeah, I was just about to
And
say.
then FPS.
But StarCraft wasn't as worldwide. StarCraft was mainly an Asian scene
That's
because
so
like
true.
North
It's
America
true.
and Europe did not compete as like if you look at like
And
who
SC2?
won the major tournaments in StarCraft. Every once in a while, you would get a random North American or a random European or a random Swede in there, right? But for the most part, you're talking like a 90% Asian-dominated market. I mean, there are StarCraft dedicated TV channels in Korea.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to bring up. It's like you can't tell me the first time that someone told you over in Korea they have several channels just so you can watch people play StarCraft. You weren't like, where is this
Right.
thing. Like, would that happen here, wherever people would be that excited about it?
If
We
you
didn't have
guys-
any gaming TV or anything.
if you
Well,
guys
Twitch
there-
is mainly
Anything.
an American
no.
market.
Twitch
but
came up.
This is
Way
a
later.
fact.
super later.
This
yeah.
is why I brought up Halo as esports. It actually achieved sports legitimacy where
Right.
it had its own show on ESPN.
And I'll tell you why. If you've noticed, there's one thing in common with the 3 games that were just mentioned here. We're talking League of Legends, StarCraft, and Halo
2 and 3.
2, 3, right?
That was their hype.
The highest point
Right,
of MLG
okay.
was during Halo 3.
There is one point of commonality between these games. Okay, so most video games, right? The manufacturer wants you to keep playing. And the way they do that is reward you. Win, lose, doesn't matter. I play a game of Black Ops, it doesn't matter if I just suck the dick or if I'm putting out the dick, right? I still get experience, go on to like Legacy level 4, whatever the fuck it is. I never did that prestige thing, but the point
Because you're a
is,
pussy.
well, no,
There are
just because-
consequences for
Yeah,
losing
right.
game. It is more
It's
competitive.
It's competitive.
It's exactly right. Because League of Legends, you lose a game, you feel fucking terrible. Halo 2, you lose a game, you feel terrible. I mean,
Well,
it's-
those games are indicative of the current.
StarCraft 2, you lose a game, terrible. I mean,
It's-
but
it's-
if you win,
Yeah.
great. I mean, because there are real
right, so
consequences to losing.
The question
it's
is,
competitive.
That was like generals.
Hey.
If only they had pro scene of generals.
yeah.
the question
that.
is where does gaming? Because League of Legends is the most successful competitive game of all time.
Agreed.
At this point, it hands down worldwide, it is the most competitive game out there. What do games have to look like? Where do developers have to go now? Like, do developers have to start looking at games as more of a competitive aspect to keep up with
Yes.
these games? So, are they going to start making their games with the idea like we need to try and make this a professional
Well,
game?
I don't
Well,
think
how?
so.
Or-
I don't think so. Think
I-
about it.
I
Think
would
about it for just a second. Okay.
Well,
Look at the
obviously
market.
not the Battlefields and the Call of Duties and stuff like
Right.
that. Those are franchises, and Halos. Like, at this point, Halo and Call of Duty are just selling a story.
I
No,
think
I
they
would-
both have a market share to
I think
capture.
yes. My answer is
I think
yes.
they both have a market share to capture. Think about it in this frame of mind, right? If you're a competitive gamer, if you're good at it,
New
you're
segment,
going
by
to
the way.
favor series that are, that have a real win-loss, right? You actually feel like you win something. You actually feel like you lost something. If you're just a casual gamer, just want to have fun, do whatever, it's like your 1 hour a day to play video games, you're not going to prefer those games. You're not going to spend your 1 hour a day of video game time if you only have that much on things like League of Legends because
Where you'll
you
get
know,
one game in.
right, because you want to feel like that time wasn't wasted. And most games traditionally do reward you, regardless of if you are good or bad at the game, for putting your time into the game.
Well,
And I think
okay.
those are
Can
two
I
different
No,
interject?
I
markets.
agree with you.
Can I interject one thing to
Yeah.
what Chris just said, and then you can talk for a bit about like your rebuttal, wherever you're coming with. To your point, I think that reflects a societal point of view that we live in right now of this like participation medal culture that we're promoting. Right. When I grew up playing Little League baseball, and this is I'm so old, I remember this shit. The teams that finished below third place didn't leave with a trophy.
Yeah.
They
You didn't
deserve a
get your
trophy.
fucking trophy for just showing up, right? You went home with nothing while you watched the big trophy go home with the
Stay
winning
on the
team
podium.
who won.
Yeah.
That is a whole
Traditionally-
nother level. That goes into psychology.
But no, that's what I'm saying. This is the thing.
That
is
is-
that Call of Duty, these games that don't have that competitive ranking system are participating in that culture.
Right.
Yeah.
In the
You're-
psych.
You lose every game you ever play of Call of Duty, you will still prestige because you're earning XP for playing the game with their progression system.
Yeah.
Now,
With
if
League, you lose
introduce-
every game. You're going to be bronze 5 eventually.
Well, what I was going to say
You're gonna be a
is
Burns.
the competitive, like, professional settings of games exist in having some sort of,
consequence.
well, ranking system. Like,
Well,
you
yeah.
have to have a ranking system based on skill.
Hmm.
Otherwise,
But I
it
wouldn't
doesn't
actually
matter.
say it's ranking system as well, though. Like you got to think, with Call of Duty, you got all your perks and all that. Yes, League of Legends, different characters do slightly different things.
Oh, yeah.
But there's nothing that's majorly outstanding saying that if you play this character, this setup, you're going to win. And it was the
No.
same as with Halo.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the difference between the professional MLG players for Call of Duty and then the League and the Halo players as well.
I think that
It's
if you have like a healthy, ranked, competitive, like culture in your game, like Halo had at one time, right?
Halo 2 specifically had
ML
a really good one.
You got to think too, Halo had that because it was even. Like the game was set up solely as even.
It's purely based on
perks or-
skill is what advances you in the
Right,
game.
and that
Right.
works with any game. I don't care if it's Call of Duty with multiple different loadouts. The skill then becomes what loadout do you choose for that current situation, right? To your play style, to your skill set, your particular set of skills. If you're very good with a sniper rifle and you just spray and play with a an SMG, then you're gonna want to favor that sniper loadout, right? Whenever you're playing in your games.
Yeah, but I think that the point that Brad was trying to make is, okay, in League, if Bjergsen right now starts a alternate account, goes through his bot games, right, and is level 3 or whatever the fuck
Level
you are,
4.
level 4 when you can first enter a blind pick, right, and he picks Syndra because that's a free champion, and for some reason he's going against a level 30 person also playing Syndra, right, who has all of their runes, all of their masteries, and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
he's still gonna dominate
Bjergsen
them.
is going to dominate
Yes.
them with the same champion because of the skill factor. Now, on Call of Duty, skill obviously
It matters. but
it
it's-
matters,
it's-
but if the dude that spawns with a sniper rifle that can just no scope people, and then the dude that is ranked like #1 in the world, you know, using the M4A1, you know, obviously if the dude that can just snipe someone across the map in a split second before you even know it happened, and he gets the vision on that person first, of course he's probably going to win that match. But in League, it takes a different amount of skill. Like, you can't just start the game with just the advantage immediately. Like,
what-
you are starting on
Yeah.
completely an even playing field. You are fresh start. Of course, your champion might be a little bit more overpowered at the, you know, at the time due to patch or whatever. But if you are a better player, you
You'll
should be
inevitably-
able to outplay whatever champion is across that lane from you, and you should be able to win that lane if you are a
Right.
just superior player.
One of the points that I would like to make quickly is, it would exist in literally any video. You could do it with any video game. I
Right.
believe if you have a skill based, any competitive game, if you have a skill based matchmaking system, and you also have a skill based we use League and Halo for example. You get to your number rank in Halo, you get to 50, that max rank. You get to Challenger or level Challenger tier play and your rank play in League. That is a recruitment pool built into your game to form a competitive community for pro play. Just
Right.
automatically built in. These games have moved away from that, where now it's just a participation strategy. League is doing it too now. With you can play your normal games and team builder and stick to a champion, and what do they call that? It's not, is it proficiencies with champions that they added in?
Masteries.
Masteries. So you can master
That
this
doesn't help you
champion.
though in the game.
It doesn't help you. That's the point. It is participation only. The
Yeah,
more
but
you play
that's
the
it.
champion, but
But
that's
that-
my point, is that
Yeah, but I'm-
these games that don't have skill-based matchmaking and a ranked game type, game playlist, they don't automatically include themselves in the conversation for pro play viability.
Absolutely.
No.
Because there's no pool, there's no talent pool to choose from.
Well, and to me, and
I feel like those people
this
know
is an
though, 'cause
argument.
That's why Twitch and that's why the fucking esports are so big. Is because there's so many people. They probably know Like, I am so bad at this game.
But would you say that
like
90
the majority of people that watch that are
Right.
like, I am so bad, but they see a
Would
champion
you-
and they're like, I want to play that and try to do my
Yes,
best.
exactly.
I
Would
actually
you
love that
would you agree
champion.
that at least 90% statistic wise of players that play the games that have a competitive multiplayer want to be the best?
Yes, every one of them.
Would they not want
Would
to
they
show that they're
want
the
to
best?
be the best? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
yeah, but-
and how
That's
do you
the
become the
point.
best? You go pro.
There are games where it doesn't, like, to me, when I played Call of Duty, I joined whatever hardcore, whatever was like the ranked of Call of Duty. I haven't played Call of Duty since Black Ops 2, so I don't know. I hate the game, but basically I played that game and I was like, man, I play good. I have a pretty good KDA consistently, and
Yeah.
But
What
at
does-
no point did I ever think like,
I'm gonna go.
this
pro.
is a professional game here. But when you play League and you watch YouTube videos of professional players and you see the LCS on every weekend and just the most amazing plays you've ever seen, just the craziest team fights, you have almost no idea what's going on sometimes because it's just so... I mean, these people have such an understanding of the game that we will never have at this table.
It's the
You're
thing-
just like,
Yeah.
this is a real game.
it's the-
Like, this is it.
It's the thing that I saw. I was super into MLG back in the day. Like my team was Final Boss. I was just fucking all over the Ogre Twins.
Final
You know-
say, I say.
Okay,
We're at an hour 10.
we're okay though. We're not too far over time. This is within normal limits, I
We're
would
a
say.
little bit over.
But I just want to say that like having team loyalty is important. But for those pros, like what you were discussing, watching those team fights, the reason why those team fights in LCS are so spectacular to watch, and the reason why seeing the high level matches in Halo with MLG, like Straight Rippin' versus Final Boss was a classic matchup. The reason why that was so spectacular was that those players at that level see the game differently than we will ever see it. Right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is
Their
it's the next
vision
level.
of the game that they're playing is completely different than what we will ever know.
Yeah, it's
And I think that's what
professionals.
really sets them apart.
Just like any profession, I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
you're either, you can sit there and do machining, and you can probably be decent at it. You
Right.
can make real things.
I can play Surgeon
But
Simulator.
then there's people
I
that
cannot
make
perform
art
surgery.
literally the Mona Lisa out of sheet metal. There's,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
there's
They're
completely different
professionals.
levels.
They see things differently than we see them as normal people.
Yeah, and we go through all that process, collegiate education, the professionalism. It's a whole different ball game. I mean, it takes it really to the next level, and you can either implement in that game and encourage professionals, or try to just capitalize on the size of the market and reward everyone.
Right.
You have two options as a game developer, really, and we see them taking both routes.
Mason, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, we are so off topic
We were still on pro gaming.
and over timeline.
Okay. Brad, do you have anything to add?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that means we're done for this week. Thanks for watching, listening, however you're receiving this podcast.
All 12 of you.
So far, we're up to 12.
Yeah, right.
John, if you subscribe, thank you. You know who you are.
Right.
Love
you, John.
Was
for
John watching this the whole time?
he subscribed to the channel today.
No,
He was
we,
trying to find Twitch, but I don't know if he succeeded or not. He might. He
but
might not.
He probably would have sent texts or called.
I don't know. He's asleep, dude. He's asleep.
he's been drinking natties for a
But
while.
he might watch this later. Anyways, yeah, for the Route 9 podcast crew, this has been podcast number 2. I am Sean, joined by...
I'm Tyler.
Chris.
Mason.
And Brad.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.